All right, well, live. Folks, welcome to Small Talks. And I think this is one of the most anticipated episode, at least by myself, because Raj and I have been trying to set it up for a while now.
For a year,
And
probably.
yeah, इतना तो हो गया होगा. So people like today Krishna couldn't join because she has some work commitments, and but she just pinged me sometime back. I'm really gonna miss this conversation because she was also looking forward to speak to you.
Mhm.
So maybe next time. So
Okay.
for folks like who don't know Raj, I think it's a crime again first of all. But for most of people I know, I think that they would have interacted with Raj on LinkedIn or in like Twitter or any of like other places because he's one of the, I would say, one of my favorite writers out there who
Mhm.
really like bring insight. So I think that's what we're gonna try to understand today with Raj.
Man, today is probably the first time I've gotten called a writer. I think I've come to that point in life where I'm like, chalo, theek. I mean, chalo. That's an identity that I'm okay with wearing right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I have been writing. I think I've been trying to write and experiment with new formats, to be honest, as of late. Breaking away from the typical, you write one-liner tweets or write like a LinkedIn post, right? Short form written content, as they call it. I've been trying to deviate a bit more from that, go a bit mid-form or whatever that is. Right?
Yeah, yeah. And
So yeah.
I'll tell you the reason that why I consider you as one of my best writers that I know of online at least. Because I follow a lot of like West writers essentially. Like
Mhm.
that's why mostly Twitter. But I remember there was one of your tweet on West Side, and it was such a like very powerful insight कि किसी ने I think pants के photo डाले थे. I
Mhm.
think you mentioned that after one or two wash, something around that, right? So that
Mhm.
was a very subtle observation, and which generally people might do subconsciously, but usko consciously लाके to put it in a certain way. I want to actually start there. How do you do that?
I think that's pretty much you nailed the what do I call it? The seed that I look for, right? I think what I believe works incredibly well in a lot of writing, especially on modern platforms. That is, what is everyone thinking, right? What is an observation that everyone has anyway, which they have not been able to articulate, or they've not had no one has been able to articulate, right? Not
Mhm.
many people have been able to articulate. They themselves haven't been able to articulate. They feel it, they've experienced it, right? That is the in some sense that's the gap that
Yeah,
I try and observe, note down, and sometimes you're like, this makes sense. Uh, this is something that's extremely relevant.
yeah,
Probably deep within, that's how I thought. And then I try and develop it into, like, previously I would just tweet it out, but now I'm like trying to experiment. What if I add some more observation, some more depth, some more meat to it? Some posts land well, some posts not so well, right? Like today I put up something because of some reason or the other. This was a post on gold, and how attitude towards gold is changing, at least among younger people, right? Holding gold as an asset.
hmm,
Uh, it was looked at as a very uh, mother vibe, right?
yeah,
It had a very feminine tinge to it. It was not cool, right?
yeah,
So I tried to put that down. That did not do all too well. But then recently I put out a post saying that a lot of people who like to travel, Indians, right? Like elite
yeah.
Indians
I
who like to
remember that.
travel are not really. They secretly they all agree ki, I like to travel to places where I probably won't bump into other Indians. Now
Yeah,
the other Indians do not include people like them. If they bump into people like them somewhere, they'd be fine. Ki, oh, some other offbeat Indian, right? But if they don't want to walk into the typical Indian tourist or whatever. And that is, I think, an open secret of sorts among a certain group of people. Just that it's too risky a statement to put out. As you saw, like all the I muted the tweet after a point of time. I was like, I could not take the like people shitting on me for putting out that observation, which is clearly it was funny because of the amount of likes and retweets it had got.
Mm-hmm.
It meant that it was clearly resonating with people. Some people were like, "Yeah, you're right." The people who were like, "No, you're wrong," or "You're being elitist," or whatever it was, other people in the comments. Right? I just couldn't take that, so I just muted it. But that is that. It's not every truth or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know whether I should call it truth, but not every
Yeah.
uh, feeling.
Everything will have a reaction or something like that.
Yeah, and not everything. People don't find it worth the risk to put it out there and put their name on the line, right? But I'm like, so I have nothing to lose as such. Let me put it out. And then there were people who were also talking about how, oh, I'm trying to generate hype for what I'm building next and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, sure, but at the same time, I mean, sure, I had the logo of what I'm building next on an image on there, so I was in some sense making a qualified statement from that angle.
Mm-hmm.
But you never know what's gonna fly and what's not going to fly, right? It's not like it, it, it resonated with people. Now, whether or
Yeah.
not it caused some kind of tension or dissonance, that's a separate matter altogether. So it's been fun exploring like how people are responding to
Mm.
all of these things. You either need to, I think, put out something that everyone believes that they wouldn't want to say, or they don't know how to say. I think these are
Mm.
the only two coins, sides of the coins that work. Other
Right.
than that, I do not really. I don't really see what works. And if you see, my volume of writing has also gone down. For those who really like and keep track, I'm not writing as much on LinkedIn. I'm not like going one post a day, right? But I know now by now that this post is going to do 100K, so I'll just post that. So yeah, I think I used to follow David Perel a lot, right? His writings.
Yeah.
I've seen him also change, like go through a lot of different styles, a lot of different, just cadence of publications, formats, this that. I've seen the same at Tiago Forte, right? A lot of these folks just have been.
James Clear, good example.
Yeah,
Uh,
James Clear, right? Like it's been a journey, right? Like around. Uh, yeah, it's been
so,
a journey, I think, and
but
it
like, so I think as a thought experiment, okay, I have a question since you mentioned something very cool that a lot of people either they don't know what to say or how to say it. Um, if you had to leverage AI in that case, okay, how would you even think about leveraging AI to maybe just sharpen either of it?
So I pretty much use AI to write every post, right?
Okay.
Now that means different things to different people.
Yeah.
Some people would think that it means I'm asking AI, hey, write a LinkedIn post for me, and then it magically comes up with something, and then I copy paste it, right? Like I think that's what most people think happens. It's not
Mm-hmm.
the case. If you do that, you're just not going to get anywhere.
Right.
But I think I supply all the insights. I talk out loud. I, dump all that I can think, and
Mm-hmm.
I at least have 6, 7, 8, 9 back and forths.
Okay.
Right? I iterate on a cloud artifact, right? Back and forth at least a good 8, 9 times till I arrive on something that I know works. Now that is my understanding of the audience. Is it saying something that doesn't make sense? Logically, it doesn't make sense. Stylistically, is it in line with what I want to put out? Um, Removing the typical AI, it's this, not that, like those kind of patterns, of course, they're the more tactical, but the insights and what the core of the post needs to be about is something that comes from me. Um, so I still haven't figured out a way to replace insights, right? Like the seed. AI, I don't think can just wake up and be like, all right, I'm going to write a LinkedIn post on this today. And you still need to supply insights, and I think the more you do, the better you get.
Hmm.
I think asking AI explicitly to help you expound on a thought, double click on a thought, asking it to cross examine you, right? Or explore potential, like interview you to explore potential sort of, you know,
Yeah.
thoughts in some sense. I think that is,
So I think essentially people need to have their maybe own insights or own observations, and maybe then they can do all this back and forth with a tool, because ultimately all this AI are tools, right? They are not like some magical.
yeah, they're not replacements. You can't treat them as replacements because yeah, it won't land, right? Very well. And I think firstly, people you need to want to observe. I think that's critical. I don't think most people uh, maintain a notebook, maintain a
Mhm.
notes list, running list. Now I know I have a list of I have a running list of what I want, uh, like my next 5 6 posts to be on. I have
Mhm.
that pipeline ready, and then I stare at it to figure out what should probably come next, right? So, for example, I can just actually read it out. In fact, I was talking to someone on Saturday, and then he
Okay.
made this statement that why are we all hustling so much to generate wealth, multi generational wealth, when all your grandkids or some like sister in your what son-in-law or daughter-in-law or even your kids probably just blow it on some Gucci bag or something like that. Like you're slogging it out right now just to enable them to do that
Mhm.
a generation or two uh, down the line. Like, what's the point? Might as well live life for yourself, right? And then go into generational. I'm like, okay, that's actually a fair point
Mhm.
because in only in very few places have you actually seen like a third gen or fourth gen really taking off as
Yeah.
compared to just going sideways or worse going downhill,
Mhm.
right? Taking whatever you would think
Yeah, yeah,
business
yeah.
achievement, jo bhi, whatever vague metric you want to use. The vibe is that it just goes downhill. So why would you do that? And I was like, That's fair. That's fair point. What are you going to do with 100 crores or 200 crores?
Mhm. Mhm.
You're not going to consume anything worth 100 200 crores in your lifetime, are you? It's very hard
Yeah,
to
yeah,
consume
yeah.
something worth that much. So what is realistic then? And how can you live without suffocating yourself? So that's one post idea
Hmm.
which came up in a conversation. I was like, okay, that struck me. I'm pretty sure it'll resonate or echo with other people as well, right?
Yeah, I think actually it reminds me. I read it something last night only. It was like, what if AI is not a bubble, right? So we all are saying, "Okay, okay, this productivity is like going to shit. This valuations are crap." But just from a productivity standpoint, okay, if we give it more time, and in let's say next 2 3 years, if it's actually not a bubble, what are the post AI economics of that? How is world actually gonna look like post that? Because right now we all are assuming ki, it's gonna take forever, right? But
Hmm.
imagine once, let's say, the promise of AI delivers, that it actually puts everyone out of job, then what does the world look like? And that was a very interesting point. And maybe, yeah, people can also sort of expand on that. Okay, what do you individually perceive as a reality that can sort of
Hmm.
happen? So I think what you mentioned is actually good, that people don't maintain that notebook. They might getting all this information दिन भर लोगों के साथ बात करने में, you read something, but maybe just it's not getting registered somewhere. I think that's a primary problem I can think of.
Yeah,
That people have original thoughts maybe.
people do. I mean, you have to. It's like going in to use the right analogy. It's like saying, "Hey man, how come you have so much fish to eat? I don't have any fish." Like the other person has fish to eat because they went, sat by a river and, with a line on, and they actively tried to fish. You have to sit in the river and just wait for those fishes to bite you, but grab your bait, right? Like if you're not doing that, if you're not observing actively with the intent of putting stuff down, they're not going to come to you. The thoughts are not going to come to you, and then you're going to be like, "Hey, I don't have any observations," because you're not
Yeah,
trying. Right? I think it's because you're not trying to observe in a very active uh, sense. Writing or any kind of content, I think you're almost creating words out of nothingness. Right? You're squeezing words out of nothing, and it takes effort. It's not. I think it's not natural work. Now, although if you once you have the seed, you can take it to final product very fast with AI.
right. I actually want to maybe start at a bit of your early childhood, right?
Hmm.
I know that you have a very strong interest in cosmology and astronomy. How did that sort of develop? Let's say for Indian kids, right? Everybody in the beginning thinks कि अच्छा मैं कुछ करूँगा ये space में. But I think you even went on to pursue a degree in physics, right? So, how what was the story like?
I think it is a very unique time growing up, right? You would probably associate with it. It was a time where you would read Tinkles, you would uh, you would watch TV, you would watch Nat Geo and Discovery and the likes on TV, right? And they
Yeah,
had all these science stuff going on, like cool. There were so many missions to Mars, like space shuttles going up. The whole Kalpana Chawla episode happened in 2003, so there was awareness around, oh, Indian went to space and oh, she passed away unfortunately, whatever. But there was at least awareness going on. I think it seems crazy because that's not the case. At least I don't see kids right now growing up thinking about space, yeah, astronomy, all these things as much, right? Like that, because back in our time, being an astronaut was something that's celebrated. I don't think people, I don't know, like do where the kids today are like, oh man, moon landing, right? Or
hmm,
oh, space shuttle went to space, ISS. I don't know whether people are, or Mars. Oh, there's a rover on Mars. I remember back in the day, like Spirit, Opportunity. There were all these newspaper. They would occupy like quite a big space of newspapers. NASA.
yeah.
That was it was an institution that everyone really thought and dreamt of.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I don't think people think and dream of NASA as much as we did back in the days. I think that had a big impact
Hmm.
on me, and I did. Um, Actually, yeah, I don't really know what made me pick that over everything else, but it just seemed like endless possibilities and questions, right, to sort of uh, answer, which
Hmm.
was uh, which was interesting, whether to pick uh,
Yeah.
the rocketry or aerospace side of it, or to pick the more astronomy side of it. I think somewhere I decided pretty early on that I want to do the science bit and not the aerospace or whatever bit.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, so I think that's how like the progression went, and it was we had an ecosystem here. There was a club, astronomy club, where I would go to and so
Okay.
on,
Nice.
sky watching. So there was that ecosystem. Some other curious people would, as a school kid, hang around people who'd done their MSc in physics, and they were very fresh, right? So they would talk about all these cool things that they were learning, lasers and so on, and like okay,
Hmm.
that's crazy, right? So yeah, I think having those strong figures in life, some kind of adults or people slightly older than you that you look up to, is very important, and not necessarily your parents alone, right? Someone
Yeah. Yeah.
could be a bit more approachable, who's just 5, 6, 7, 8 years older than you, right? Who would want to talk to you, mentor you. I think that is what happened,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
how we kind of landed up. Very as astronomy tech sort of an environment. Yeah, but I
Hmm.
wonder why I did not take up programming or coding or like more tech leaning.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't. I was into technology. I still am. I'm a pretty strong enthusiast in that sense. I keep track of what's happening on hardware, software, but I don't know why that was not something that grabbed
Hmm.
more of my like attention. Thinking
Hmm.
about it, I don't think I'm a hardcore tech person, right? I'm not like the engineer. I
Yeah.
understand logic, common sense. I can get to the bottom of some system if I need to.
Hmm.
But I'm realizing I'm more of a storyteller. As years pass by, I think just coming to that acceptance. Storyteller first, but I can also do other things if need be, right? But if you see storytelling in this world is probably it's necessary, but it's not something that's sufficient.
Hmm.
You need to still like you need good great ops jobs. You need great like some subject matter expertise, whatnot, in order to get some cash flowing, right? Like that's the to set up a business. Just it's not only enough to tell stories. That's
Hmm.
what I meant. Like you need to be doing
Yeah.
probably much more than that for it to make sense. Yeah.
I have a bit of a subjective slash abstract question, right? So I think now with let's say all this information, we all have sort of figured कि, okay, the universe is quite big, and just the observable universe is like so massive that
Hmm.
I mean, in billions and billion years, even at the speed of light, we are not reaching anywhere close to the edge of the universe.
Hmm.
Uh, we have discovered quite a few interesting, spectrum of the whole universe, right? But somewhere down the line, like in everyday life, right? Even with that, let's say the grand scheme of things, knowledge, we are
Hmm.
still stuck in like this whole rat race in a way. Do
Hmm.
have you ever thought of it? Why it happens? Matlab, with all this perspective, why we are still like fighting for like 2 likes, 3 likes in a way.
Uh, that I mean, it's the in some sense fundamentally there's a need for validation, right? Like some kind of validation is what drives everyone, right? I
Hmm.
think I also and not just content. It's also about creating something bigger, business or whatever. And it's like,
Hmm.
why do you need to? Why do you
Yeah.
fundamentally need to do that? Like, what itch are you trying to scratch? Why can you not just be okay being, let's say, an employee,
Hmm.
right? Like, and I think upon like some deeper introspection or understanding these questions, probably realize that there is it's a very violent act of creation, but like starting a business or whatnot, right? But I think at the same time, it's also about at the same time, I think it's also about there's some validation that you're craving for. It boils into identity, right?
Hmm.
Like what is your identity and how do you reinforce it? So be it likes, comments, valuations, whatever. I think they kind of some are more real than the other or whatever. Some are
True.
have more burden and meaning than the other. But I think probably it sort of comes down to that, perhaps.
So, I mean, some part of, I'm assuming evolutionary biology also plays a big part in how we sort of evolved with that whole scarcity mindset, right? Because I think maybe the whole spectrum of manifestation works because there is this entire world of like, scarcity. So I think it's quite a paradox, to be honest, bro.
Yeah, and we're plugged into it. We're plugged into it. Like so, for example, even like wealth or whatever, right? Like these are all. The more you think about it, you realize that sure, at the end of the day, these are all numbers, and they're all,
Mm.
like it's like the whole like crypto is a very crazy example of it, right? I think
Yeah.
for most normal people, wealth or whatever is like something that's or just money, right? Money. is God sent. It is oh, if there are some numbers, there are some numbers, right? And it has that whatever. But you will see someone go raise $1 million, and technically that company or whatever will be valued in millions, and that person will be a paper millionaire or whatever. Not
Yeah.
many people will buy it, but it's not cash. But technically, they've generated some value out of
Hmm.
thin air or crypto, right? Some new coin. Everyone claims that it has value. Now it has value. So
Yeah.
suddenly, if there were X amount of money in the world, someone launching a crypto token has essentially created more money or wealth or whatever
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the world. So it is possible to create something out of nothing, something out of thin air. I think that's not a possibility that most people can digest.
Imagine. Yeah. Or
For
imagine, I
most,
suppose. So.
imagine, right? Like for most people, it is just कि वो company के account में there is money there, and it is coming to me. It is getting transferred. It's a very money is getting going from someone else's account to my account.
इसका सबसे बेस्ट एग्जांपल कैन बी एक्चुअली बैंक्स राइट मतलब व्हेन लेट्स से वी स्टार्टेड ग्रोइंग अप राइट तो वी ऑलवेज थॉट कि जो पैसा डाल रहे हैं बैंक में वो बैंक में पड़ा हुआ है एंड आई
Yeah,
जस्ट
which
विड्रॉ
is
इट.
then the bank, and then the bank loans you. The bank is giving you some money they have in their safe deposit or something that you're supposed to return it back or whatnot. But it's much more insidious than that in some sense, right? It's numbers, and they're making up some numbers as they go along, and someone's given them permission to make some numbers up, as long as they stay within some line,
राइट.
right? Like credit is pretty much in some sense created on the on the fly. I think
या.
that money supply and so on is not a concept that's very strongly sort of looked at. I think same with interest rates and so on, right? Like it's the lower the
या.
interest rate, easier to borrow. I borrow from you, I pay someone else. That person puts it in the bank, and then like creates an long chain of money changing hands. And that's, I think, what is slightly good about the US and the other developed economies is people are just more willing to let money go out of their hands,
Hmm.
right? Because they know money will come back
या.
or something like that. If people are okay paying you money, uh, you are also okay with people paying people money, and it's just a world that everyone agrees it's okay to pay each other money.
Hmm.
In that world, it's the norm, but when you look at it from India, you're like, oh shit, they're making so much money there, right? Like, but that's also because they're also paying out so much money for
Hmm. Hmm.
everything.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm sure
Like,
with your experience in recruiting, I also want to hear like brokerage, right?
yeah.
Paying brokerage, whatnot. I'm sure Indians just hate
Yeah.
paying any kind of
Brokerage or
brokerage,
a commission fee.
especially when they know what the underlying like asset cost. If there is a
Because yeah.
if there's opacity, right, then they are like, chalo, theek hai. Like on Amazon, I don't really know how much Amazon is making.
Hmm.
And then the brands cry. On Swiggy, I don't really know how much Swiggy is making. And on Swiggy, Instamart, I don't know how much the platform is making a final price there. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Do
you
you
tell me,
remember that tweet which went viral for Mokobara that somebody figured that there are same bags in China for like some $1,000 and they are selling for whatever like 6K or 7K. I think and somehow yeah I don't know it's just a cultural thing right? Ki
no,
matlab we
people
all
people got triggered in principle, right? Like they just got triggered in principle.
yeah.
It was not even key. Okay, I am going to go buy from China because it's not easy. You
Yeah.
can't. Like if everyone could be, that would have been crazy. But no one is buying from China.
True.
So it was just chaos. It was just like noise
Yeah.
for the sake of noise. It's pretty much. I mean, I don't. I am really wondering the difference between. It's very subtle, right? It's like in the factory something costs you so much. Now that
Hmm.
it's coming to you home on Swiggy, it is costing you to. twice of
Yeah,
that. Why are you not crying about that as well? Ki, gehu at the or a bag of rice at source is costing much less,
yeah,
but in your the shopkeeper is selling it for so much. Why are you not like going and crying
mm,
about, oh, rice is twice as expensive as where it's made? I mean, isn't that how the world works, right?
yeah,
Like how are you making money? Like, I mean, to the individual, you're also part of some
yeah.
chain at the end of the day.
I think just financial, let's say literacy or the economic concepts, right, are extremely opposite to versus how West operates. I remember there was a little different example from a cultural standpoint. One of the podcast guests gave, right. So in US, when like when you're a kid, and if a teacher asks you what do you want to become when you grow up, and if somebody says, "Okay, I'll become a president," so people don't laugh. But
Laugh,
in
yeah.
India, imagine if you will say, "I'm gonna be a prime minister." Like लोग बोलेंगे अरे तू क्या प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनेगा, right? So there are so many small cultural nuances, and it sort of shapes up who we are, right? And I think it's very hard to let it go
Yeah,
because
I agree. I mean, right from that to how your parents are, what they value, right? Like what they value. Are they again? Another friend sort of made this statement which stayed with me. Was and I think this will make for a nice post, right? Like, was that uh, how you spend money is not contingent on how much you're making, what your net worth or what you've earned is.
yeah.
It is strongly contingent on what your parents were making or how they were spending money.
Hmm.
Right? It is not about you. You could be like, there are people who are making tons of money and are still spending like they have nothing, or rather not spending at all. And there are people who make nothing, but they're still like spending like crazy.
Actually, Gujarati and Marwadi communities, if you will see, if you will look at their, let's say, social functions, right? Let's say marriage or some birthday happening or some, like social gathering ho raha hai. They
Hmm.
will splurge like anything, matlab, but they will still buy, let's say, 500 ka bed sheet versus 1000 ka. So the whole idea is like, very socially that way ki if you can, like you want to spend money in a certain situation where there is a certain sort of a
But
validation, praise, whatever, right? So
why do you think that's happening?
I think I lost
Like,
you, Raj. I can't hear
why?
you.
Uh, am I audible now? Am I audible now?
Still can't hear you.
Is this any better? Hello, hello. Checking this out.
You can hear me, right?
Is this any better?
Uh, Hello.
Yeah, am I audible now?
This is fine. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
So I
Sorry,
was
go ahead.
wondering why is it that people behave that way on social? What what's going on? What are people trying to signal, and so on here? You would know as an insider, right? Like, or
Yeah,
any
yeah. So I think
hypothesis around that?
actually, one of the primary observations I had with a lot of like, my Gujarati family is
Hmm,
that there are two layers, right? One is the, of course, social hierarchy, because once you show someone, right, I can spend money,
hmm,
and there is this whole concept in the mammals, right, that you can just waste resources
hmm,
just to like show it off. So I think that's one part of it. And second part, I feel somewhere like from the generations of Gujarati folks, right, the especially men, right, they were always sort of given the value by how much money they make,
hmm,
or how much sort of they can do it for other people. So there is this very strong like feeling of acha, if I'm, let's say, having money, so I'm gonna spend it on my, like, my brothers, my sisters. I'm gonna make sure that, they are settled in their life. So I don't know if it's like an Indian thing across the board, but I have seen specifically Marwadis and Gujaratis, once they get into some business, they will just bring in their community people, right?
Hmm.
And it just become like a whole community thing then. And somehow you become like that dada of the community. Ki bhai, he's the guy if you want to get something done. So
Hmm.
I'm assuming it's a bit of that, like, that's how I'm assuming people think.
Yeah, so it does, burning money and wasting, like, I mean, social events, pay expenditure or whatnot.
Yeah.
Is that also, I mean, do people look at it also from a business angle? Ki, oh, if I
No, 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 no.
spend money, I mean, show off, maybe, I mean, it's like getting deals, right? Getting or access to more business. Ki, Or dhanda badega, people will
I
recognize
think
me.
so, contrary to, let's say, how modern startups sort of operate, right? That they will spend so much money on making everything perfect. Like, AK campaign cost crores. I'll give you one, actual real life insight. So there was this one person I was working for one, for the one of the events in Ahmedabad. So we were just discussing कि अच्छा event के बाद क्या खाने को देंगे and all that. So they were like कि खाने का क्या सीन है, सबको फ्रूटी और समोसा दे दो. So they were less bothered about the experience, the vibe and all that. They were just focused on कि यार मैं जहाँ जाऊँगा मैं मेरा काम करके निकल जाऊँगा. So
Hmm.
event में, let's say, the whole experience वाला factor, vibe, the whole perception building is not bothered at all. It's all about, can I just get my work done or not?
Hmm.
So, which is very opposite.
And do you think that, I mean, I'm not sure. It's a way, the style of doing things. It's a way of doing things, and maybe it's my American influence or whatnot, cultural influence that makes us feel
Can be,
ki
yeah.
taste is important and necessary and whatnot. But I'm just wondering, like, is it what do you think? Like, do
It
you?
is an exposure
I
thing. I think. It is an
hmm,
exposure thing. So, for instance, I don't know if you recently noticed that the on Twitter, a lot of launch videos are coming, right, with all this
yeah.
AI startup. Recently, I was just doing a research, right, in California, which job is in the highest demand right now.
Hmm,
Currently, it's actually videographer. More than engineers, people need videographers, right?
makes
So it's
sense.
so maybe people who are exposed to that side of the world, especially in our world, right, in the tech ecosystem, our influence is coming from a lot of like what people are doing, let's say, who are above in social hierarchy in the West. But most of this Gujarati and like Marwadi businessman, they have a very local proxima, right? So they are not trying to compare okay what somebody in Valley is doing. So I
And I
think
think a lot of those businesses are also, in some sense, trading businesses, right? Like,
trading or
so you're
huh,
operating on, like, I would assume you're operating on relatively thin margins.
yeah.
Or maybe I'm mistaken. I don't know.
Maybe
But then,
pharma companies are the exception in this because
hmm,
Ahmedabad is full of pharma companies. But pharmas have huge margin, right? So, but I'm also assuming it's also the industry connotation, right? So, if you remember, like when the fintech wave started, right? Finance was a boring thing, right? Matlab,
yeah.
today we all talk about finance because of three things. One is the VC,
Hmm.
PE, and fintech, right? These are like primary three angles. Everybody thinks, oh, finance is so cool, right? But if we just, let's say, go back 20, 30 years back, finance was not like looked at like, such a lucrative career for a lot of people.
Hmm.
So I think it's also the branding of the industry.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering. Like, the VC folks, of course, have gotten here because they've been uh because they've been doing great
Yeah,
branding, and they've come from that very, I mean, venture capital itself is very American
yeah.
in its ways of going
Approach.
about things.
Yeah. If you remember,
So
right, we
hmm,
when I was part of Stova, I was in C4, so we were fairly early, right? So if you remember, late 2021
hmm,
to late 2022, everybody was trying for a product manager job, right?
yeah.
I'm sure you had a lot of conversation with so many people, and सबको product manager बनना था. And I remember there was also this whole narrative कि अच्छा product manager को करना क्या है? A lot of people were just confused between a program manager or a project manager and product manager. So I think it's just certain time, certain thing picks up and like people go gaga about it.
Hmm.
and again, it's also some part of a social. I don't know if you recently followed the whole yeah, gatekeeping of the event wala thing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
people are just dunking it because they like want to show that okay, okay, I'm against, or like whatever, I stand for this or blah blah blah. So
Yeah, I mean, even the people who organize it are probably were like, so that's, I think that's what Indians love, right? Like,
yeah.
love as in, wait, event, like you go to an event, like, I mean, and then do what? You're gonna go there, ask some questions, probably no one's gonna even remember you or forget about you, whatever the case is. And then what? Like, what happens?
Post event.
What happens post? How does it materially impact your life?
Yep.
Right, like people think यार यहाँ जाके बाबा को सुन के whatever some life will change, what, no, that's usually not that's not how things work. You do real work and you earn your way into those tables
Yeah.
that matter, for deals and discussions that matter. That usually happens if there's enough money flowing through you, or you're in charge some way. You're in charge of more uh, you know
Hmm.
stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise there is no point to it, no point
Yeah.
to going to events.
I think that's the thing, right? That if you're not gonna put up a picture, but Raj, I will also say कि यार sometime it's also the event organizers, right? So they also wanted to like make it that way. कि
Yeah, I think they wanted to show that Anthropic is coming to us and we are an investor, and hey, like AI, right? But I think it kind of backfired because of a few SAR, whatever, this.
yeah, yeah,
It would have probably been fair to announce the event or whatever it is after it was done, also, right? Like just post photos. People wouldn't really feel bad, but then people feel like they're being farmed. कि हाँ register करो, and then they're going to be kicked out, whatnot.
yeah.
Then I think people are not. That is when people, I think, get triggered.
True, true.
That's what people. But again, very frivolous, very trivial issues as compared to the broader problems at hand, which is we're
True.
barely seeing any like AI companies or whatever come out of India, and that's probably more so the case
Hmm.
because we're so far away from the market.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone in India is paying for AI. Like I think we're not even ready for AI, to be honest. Beyond a
Is it?
point, like our
Why do you think
companies, from a B2B point standpoint, which is
so?
where a lot of money is made, right?
Hmm.
B2C, may how cranky the consumers are. B2, they're like, why should I pay a CA to do my taxes? Almost like that kind of thing. B may it's data inside of companies, like people, processes, are just so all over the place that even if
Hmm.
you give them the best of AI, like think about it. In the US, they're implementing AI in hospitals and
Yeah.
doctor consults, whatnot. Here,
True.
you take an appointment at 6 p.m. You see the doctor at, you know,
6:30.
if you are lucky, you see whatever, and there's just chaos.
Yeah.
There's chaos. Like that receptionist is fielding calls. They're like, "नहीं तुम आओ, तुम्हारा appointment, हाँ, okay." Like you can emotionally um let's say I want an appointment for Tuesday. A
Hmm.
receptionist will be like, "nahi nahi, doctor is busy, Tuesday ko nahi milega." Then you say some, "No, no, but patient is very this that, no, no, serious problem." They'll be like, "Okay, come Tuesday 7:30 p.m."
Hmm.
So it is just so like on the people just make up shit on the fly, in India all the time. How are you going to put an AI agent into this? How are you going to capture the economic surplus, or just going to aid productivity? Even everything is on the fly. There's no digitization. Oh, kuch paper pe they will write.
But Raj, I'll
Right.
give you a very simple example. I think this is a very like one of the simple example will be that I speak to engineers day in day out, right? So when I speak to engineers from Valley, right, one of my favorite questions this day is like I ask people how are you using AI right now? So I'm also trying to understand like how are they leveraging and if I can do something in that line. In Valley, people are just trying out stuff, okay, left, right, center. You will figure out tools ke name you might not even heard, right? And you will just acha think, okay, I'm gonna use and try ye kaisa hai. In India, I would say 90% engineers I speak to, they are stuck on cursor and chat GPT. मतलब it's a common answer. सब लोग chat GPT और cursor ही use कर रहे हैं. And if you ask them, okay, what's beyond this? There is very limited sort of curiosity. कि अच्छा okay और क्या कर सकते हैं types.
So, I mean, it's a natural thing to wonder if you're making some money. If you're making decent money, you can put aside, I don't know, perhaps a few thousand rupees at the least
Mhm.
towards an experimentation, upskilling, jo bhi ho, budget, whatnot. But how many people are really doing that? How many people are, trying stuff out on their own dime, looking at themselves as mini businesses? Ki if I learn something, if I pick up a skill, la la la, then maybe I will sell myself better and get a harder return on it.
But Raj, like, how do we solve this curiosity problem in general? Because there is
No,
enough
it's, I think
literature.
it is curiosity, like, is one. See, curiosity comes at a cost. No, that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
To try, even especially in AI, I think they're very exemplified here. You have to put money down to try something. Well, it's not like not everything is free.
Yeah.
Do you have the confidence in yourself, or do you think fundamentally do you believe that money is uh, made to be put back
Hmm.
in the system, or do you feel कि पैसा आ गया अंदर वो अब म्यूचुअल फंड में लगा के छोड़ देते हैं, like,
Hmm.
or everything that is coming I will save as much as I can and shove it into some investment saving whatnot and just keep doing that.
I'm glad you bring out the investment topic because there is this whole wave of investors just putting money like, before earning they're just worried about investments. And I think I see this very often, which I don't know if it's in a great direction. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I also don't know, like, compounding hota hai if you put in early money whatnot, but someone who is a little crazy might take a hit early on, like a startup. Na? They will not make cash flows. They'll take a hit early on, but they'll really, once they start earning or making, they'll just go crazy,
yeah, yeah.
right? Like, so there are different, I think, pathways to reach to the same uh,
Goal.
goal.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, most people we are talking to have a, what's that? They have a 10-year career.
Hmm.
They're 20, 30, 40, God knows how many more years to go. At least 20 more years, 20, 30. Like, we just through one third or whatever that is of our career at the least, at the most. Sorry.
Yeah.
Even someone who's 10 years experienced or whatever, right?
Hmm.
So, what happens in the next, your compounding will happen on whatever you've made so far. But what happens in, like, your whatever 3 year, I mean, your 20, right? Like, where are you going to be if you're not actively investing in yourself? Like, वहाँ पे फट
Hmm.
जाती है फिर. So that's the thing. Like, I think it's fundamentally वही वो. The more I'm thinking about it, the more it is coming to just how do people think about value? How do people think about life? What is the point purpose of life? Is it to save and buy that one house at the end of the day, or is it to have fun on a daily basis?
Hmm.
Right? Is it to allocate capital towards having fun on a daily basis? And they may or may not go hand in hand, right? I don't know. Like, these
Yeah.
two approaches, ki I'm gonna live like a rat versus I'm gonna live like a small king every day. Maybe not
Hmm.
have a lot to like pass on or whatever that is. So,
But in that line, no, I think you just entered your 30s, right, recently. What was the best thing sort of you invested or like, did in your 20s that you just really enjoyed, matlab, that कि अच्छा मैंने अच्छा
I
वो ये
think
कर
I took a loan against an FD because I didn't have the money to buy a MacBook, right? And then I worked. I was like, chalo, I need to work, do something to pay that
Hmm.
um, MacBook off,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Like,
yeah. Interesting.
was probably like fun. I think I should do more of that because that MacBook really helped, like, actually made me productive. I'm a lot of people be like, "ये laptop कौन सा भी हो क्या फर्क पड़ता है, phone तो phone होता है."
Hmm.
कुर्सी तो कुर्सी होती है. Why do you need like a fancy chair or whatnot? But I'm like, I'm sitting on it so many hours a day. Why do you need such an expensive pillow?
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm sleeping on it most of my like one third of the my time alive. I'm spending on it. The pillow. Another one third I'm spending. More than one third I'm spending on this goddamn chair. Might as well be comfortable. So I think just putting money on these like
Yeah, yeah. Small things can really add up, I suppose.
small things that add up and make me happy. Whatever numbers show up in my grow and zero da whatever that is, however high they are, they probably make me feel shit.
Hmm.
Right? Like I can add probably one more zero behind uh whatever I have in my net worth or whatever you call it. I think I'll still be pretty fucking uh disappointed in myself, or you get what I mean. I think
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'll want more and more
Hmm.
and more and more. I think when I had nothing, I was more like at peace
Yeah,
or at ease than having something. So like
yeah,
that's somewhere that's I think yeah, that's something that I would think of.
right. But that's I like the whole idea because it just sort of remind me one of the conversations somebody told me that all the learnings, all the gains in life sort of happens through a necessity. If you are not
Hmm,
just gonna put yourself in that situation, you'll always keep saying, "अरे बाद में करेंगे, बाद में करेंगे." But when you just sort of enter into that mud, right, you somehow have to clear that, and
hmm.
then there is no running here and there, right? So I think that sort of makes sense. Raj, sorry, go on. Yeah,
No, no, I agree. I agree that sometimes you got to put yourself under pressure,
yeah,
right? And I think at this point in time, I'm like a pro consumption person, right? Like, sure, there's all the Buddha school of thought around this, I don't know, like desire and thirst, and that causes uh, suffering and whatnot. Like, I think, like, bro, everyone's suffering at this point in time. I like
mm,
most people I talk to, people are just like crying about something or the other,
yeah,
right? Like, I've not come across anyone who's like, yo, man, like,
yeah,
this is it. I'm happy and I know how to be like happy for the next 30, 40 years. No one I know has seemingly cracked it, right? Which is which is funny. Everyone is pained about something with something, and
mm.
might as well be
Like
pained
the
about things
happiness
that
paradox. No, I don't know if you have read about that happiness paradox. The more you sort of go behind it, it just keeps getting further and further
yeah.
because you constantly keep pushing your finish line. No, you're like, yeah, acha, aaj 1 crore, right? Let's do 10, let's do 100. So I think small things where we keep pushing the finish line, and then there is no finish line. So yeah,
Absolutely, I think I agree with that. So that's I think, and these are things that are so when we talk about productivity and when Indians use AI, I think boils down to this: if even if we are to be more skilled or jo bhi ho, and I think
yeah,
very fundamental issues that we need to get to the bottom of.
hmm,
And it's not easy to deprogram or whatever. Right? It's not easy to deprogram yourself from
yeah,
these foundational things, which will finally free you to put your credit card on some 5 AI tools and be like, yeah, let me just see what this subscription can do for me. Okay, sure, it didn't help me, but okay, chalo. People are more comfortable paying for a pizza,
true.
right, than for some tool, in my opinion. Yeah.
I think it's also the whole idea of like safe environment because the pizza, Swiggy, Zomato, Netflix, the known, right? But where you just have a completely like unknown territory, you're also not sure ye kya karna. And I think that's where I think people completely under like estimate the whole risk taking factor because we keep talking about risk taking, but जब वो करने का आता है risk taking, a lot of people can't do that. So I
Yeah, it's not
think
easy.
yeah. So Raj, there is one question. One of my, one of the previous guests who has posted. I think it's a long question, so I would recommend आप इस पे post के लिख दो. उसने question ये पूछा है. Education is a noble profession,
Hmm.
but in Indian context, right, it has been treated as a business, and people have been exploited with like whatever is happening in last few years. He also mentioned that I really want to do something in the teaching space, but the whole name, like has मतलब जो उसका image हो गया है, right, पूरा. So it has taken a big hit, matlab. So I am assuming it's a long commentary, but if you can maybe address this via post or something, and it will actually help bunch of people to think through this, matlab, because you have spent so much time in the education.
Yeah, it makes sense, and it's not an easy place to be in, right? It's not an easy place to be in, but I think that makes sense in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Just last two questions, right? Then we'll sort of call it for today. I have more questions, but I'm just gonna sort of save it for the next one. So one is you have interacted with like very different set of people, right? Right from academic, startups, CXOs, everyone. What's the best piece of advice? Not I would not say advice, but some sort of a I would say gyan, okay, that just stayed with you personally or professionally.
I think one of my thesis advisors back in college, I was busy trying to rule out some universities to not apply to. I was like, yeah, this university, that, like, what about that? It's like first apply, then get accepted, then you can sit and reject them, right? Like, let them at least first accept you instead
Right.
of first only like thinking, "Okay, will this be a good place for me?" Right? पहले accept तो accept होके देखा. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, that's something that has stayed with me all through. Ki
Hmm.
don't overthink from that point of view. Just first do and then see what's happening, what's going on.
I think that's actually very true because we do a lot of like self rejections in general, right? In life. Ki, this is not for me. I don't know.
Or
Should I?
or daydreaming on the other end of the spectrum. You think you've already made it. Now you're thinking, how will who will I reject? Right?
Hmm.
That's the other end of the spectrum.
I
That
think
probably
both are very dangerous ones. So you have to like probably strike a balance on
I
whatever
agree.
works as a person.
I
Hmm.
agree with that. And
And
that comes
last,
with time.
but yeah, I think experience. But I have a just bit of a different take on experience. Okay, because um, I believe that experience create biases, okay? And somewhere down the line, biases sort of hamper in the growth mindset because I'll tell you kaise. Let's say you worked in education for a while now. Agar if you want to think through, let's say something new in education, you'll always have this कि अरे ये नहीं चलता, वो नहीं चलता. How do you keep that, let's say, bias aside and maybe again think through that fresh ideas or fresh eyes, I would suppose. Is it easy?
I don't know. There's a thin line between judgment and a bias, right?
Hmm.
Judgment, kya, oh, I know why exactly I'm saying what I'm saying, and versus like, nah, this won't work. You're just casually saying it. So I think like you got to be in touch with reality, uh, all through, right? That is what matters more than anything else.
Hmm. No, fair. And lastly, for the day, right? So, if Raj was again 21,
Hmm.
what two, three behavioral traits or a professional traits you would pick up early in your life, which you sort of learned hard way?
I think understanding more about the what value is, what the world values, just more of the get shit done
Hmm.
attitude. Like, I think you never have enough of that, right? Just like
Hmm.
go pick up the phone, right?
Yeah.
That pick up the phone specifically attitude. Pick as in dial the phone, right?
Yeah.
Like that kind of attitude. Um, yeah, and just like, yeah, I think these are two things. Just
Hmm.
understand how value works. The
Yeah.
sooner you figure that out, the better it is for you.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna use the second one as a mental model for just doing stuff, right? So just pick up the phone, whatever the context is, just do it, and then you think over it.
Yeah, and then you think over it, right? But first do, because like
Yeah.
You'll be surprised how many people will get back or respond or whatever the case is.
Yep, yep. But I think this was super interesting. I think we touched upon quite a few sort of tangents, and I feel we can still just keep talking. But I think we will sort of again. I'm gonna repeat that. We'll save it for some other day. Thanks for doing it, Raj. Really appreciate. Any closing thoughts from your side for people who might tune in later
I
on?
think I think that, yeah, invest in yourself or whatever. Enjoy the moment, right? Like spend for the day, enjoy the moment, be okay, be a little less anal about things. I think that's what it's a note to myself as well.
Yeah.
At the end of all of this,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. Cool. Thanks a lot for everyone who tuned in and people who wanna watch it later. And we should be back soon. Actually, we are coming back tomorrow. So yeah. So
neat.
thanks a lot, Raj. I'm just gonna end the screen. Just a second.
Yep.
Yeah.